In this lecture, I want to review and also apply what we have learned so far in this image. So let's get started. In this image, the first thing that we notice here is that it is very blown out in the middle areas. And another thing that we notice here is that this image is not straight. So the first thing that we learned from our lectures was lens correction. So let's just apply that. Remove chromatic aberrations. There is not too much chromatic aberration in this image, but to be sure, just check this. The next thing, enable profile corrections. And right away, we see that the Lightroom did a great job of fixing that for us. And also in this image, I will be adding vignette. You might remember that in our lens correction lecture, I did not focus too much on vignetting, on fixing vignetting, because in most of the image, we will be adding vignette ourselves, because to help the viewer's attention in the middle of the image. So I will be adding a little bit of vignette from here. So far, this is the before and this is the after. The next thing that we learned was crop tools. And we know that this area is not straight. To make it straight, we use the angle correction. It's not too much prominent, so just did a little bit of adjustment. From other composition, from the cropping point, this image do not need any further editing. So we just apply that settings. This is our image so far, before and after. The next thing that we learned was to fix exposure. And as I said in the beginning, this area is very blown out. There is not too much details in it. And it's also bright. So what we need is to decrease this highlights. And we know that when decreasing highlights, we get details in the brightest part of our image. So we get some details in these areas. The next thing that I want to do is to decrease shadows, because in these areas, these subjects, I do not want them to be prominent and I do not want the viewer's attention to get in here. What I want to do is decrease shadows and make them darker, just like that. For the whites, we see what it does, and I like it when it's in negative in this image. And also I want the blue reflection of the sea in the sky. In the blacks, I will decrease the blacks because of the reasons that I mentioned above in the shadows, and also to add contrast between these areas, the bright areas and also the dark areas. Also a little bit of contrast. Let's see what it does when we decrease the exposure. When you decrease the exposure, this image looks better, so I will leave it in there. And yeah, these are the tools that we have learned up till now, and we have used it to fix composition and also to adjust the exposure of our image. So this is the before and this is the after. We see much more difference, and this image looks pleasing than the first one. So in the next lectures, we will be continuing our journey, and see you in the next lecture.